Come to the seaside, they said. Have a paddle, eat some ice cream, ride a donkey. What could be better than a racetrack by the beach, they said. Hello everybody, welcome to Zandvoort. It's round 4 of the Fun Cup Championship. We've got 2 3-hour races coming up this weekend and we arrive here with the championship on fire. It's Christian Rose then leading the way in the 267 JPR Axiometrics car, but with a multiple race winner right behind him, Marcus Clutton. And he's having a look up the inside here. He's drafting past. He's going to get the lead of the race all the way to Paddock Hill Bend. The 4th different race leader already. As into the pits comes the Uvio car, and it's a stop-go penalty. And one can only assume that is for exceeding track limits. It's going to put them pretty much at the back of the field. And it looks like they're calling it down at Apollo. That car headed for the garage. And for the championship hopefuls this year, a terrible, terrible way to start the season. We have lost our race leaders. Dispatchbay.com are in the garages. And there's been another twist in the tail in terms of the podium finishers, because up to 3rd, 2 Red Dominoes and Henry Dawes. And the reason he's up to 3rd place is that there's just been a moment for Trumans. This was after, I think, a tap from behind for the 170 car coming out of Graham Hill Bend. The car sent into a spin, and their hopes of finishing on the podium for the first time dashed. The checkered flag is readied, and it is going to be waved for the first time this season to JPR Uvio, who take first blood in the 2019 championship. Team Truman's on pole position in the purple 170 car as the lights go out. Jonathan Hode has got the inside line. Charlie Kennedy alongside him for Team Kennedy, but it's the pole sitter that gets there first. On board with Farkini, making his way through from the back of the field. And down the outside of 1, 2, 3 cars he goes, the last of the late breakers. Oh, and off goes Alan Brown! Bang! Into the barriers. Oh no, that's the Team Kennedy car pulling off the circuit with an issue. Charlie Kennedy out of contention. Marcus Clutton in the 221 car, he's on the inside and he's tight to the corner, but the back end of the car is swinging around. Coming around the outside of him is the Uvio car who gets on the dust, gets out wide, and into the back of him goes Christian Rose, who spins out and hits the barriers here right at the end of the race. The flag is out though, and the win is going to go to Dispatchbay.com. Andy Bicknell, Marcus Clutton, and at 16, Riley Phillips becomes the youngest ever Fun Cup winner. And here they come then, all bunched together the top 5, but Uvio holding on to the lead of the race here, looking for their 2nd win of the season. Meanwhile, we've had 4 cars had to start from the pit lane due to technical infringements. They're giving everybody else a head start. So it's the Team 7 Fun Bikes car, the 2-1 FNS car there, which has got ahead of the Crossacre car and trying to get ahead of him, the reigning champions. 2 Red Dominoes with a great move there at the chicane. So these 4 cars having to play catch-up. I'm afraid the former race leaders, Dispatchbay.com, are into the pits. Andy Bicknell with what seems like an exhaust problem. Not good news for Team Viking, runners-up in last year's championship. They've had a difficult start to the season. And a big off here for Steve Walton from inside the top 6 for FNS.
It's over, mate. We're in wall, we're in tyre wall, it's all over.
A real shame. They've been doing a terrific job from the back of the field. Former race leaders, TFL Racing, have picked up some damage as well. I've dropped down the order now. And here the battle for 3rd place now. Guy Wenham trying to go around the outside on the run down towards Clervaux. He switches back to the inside and then gets twitchy under braking as the door is closed, and around he goes. He wipes out one of the tyre stacks into the gravel trap, I'm afraid, for Guy Wenham, and Apollo are out of contention. Into Tower Bend then. One more lap to go at the end of this one. The Truman's car gets a better run now coming out of the turn. He's drawing alongside and going on the attack as they disappear off towards the Jim Carcasses. That is going to be tight. What about the battle for 3rd? The Uvio car looks like it's pulling away now from PLR Racing. And for their first time, it is going to be a race victory in the Fun Cup Championship for Team Truman's. Jonathan Hode and Colin Kingsnorth are winners. Oh, hello. I mean, I really can't recommend this job highly enough. So as you've seen, Team Trumans have made huge strides forward this season. They've gone from being regular top 10 finishers to joining the ranks of race winners. But what's changed? I caught up with them earlier to find out.
Well, we've just worked hard over the winter, you know, a lot of time with Colin and Richard in the car, and you know, it's just finding those last little bits because it's so close in bunker, finding those last tenths, pushing from midfield to at the front basically.
Do you know, it's a lot of little things. I don't think it's not that one thing has been transformational. The car is great this year. I think obviously every year you get better at it. Every year you get a little bit more used to the circuits. We're definitely quicker on the driver changes than we've been before. I think we've practiced that. We figured out what works and what doesn't work, and that's made a difference.
Last year, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. And this year we just had a bit more luck, I think. We've had the pace this year, and everything went right in Croft, so it's all good. Yeah, it's great fun. You just got to keep on it, you know, and sort of starts to come good if you keep on it, really.
Team Kennedy have drawn pole position for the first 3-hour race of the weekend, with Team Viking alongside championship leaders JPR Uvio start third, with PT Motorsport fourth. Second in the championship, Two Rent Dominoes with work to do from 17th on the grid, and third in the championship, Trumans, as winners last time out, start at the back as the lights go out. The race gets underway, and Charlie Kennedy leads the charge into turn one. A good start for the pole sitter, but for second place, it's Farkini up the inside of the yellow Viking car. The white PT Motorsport car had a good start as well, with Ian Payne on board. There's the number one car on board with it now as Chris Hart negotiates turn one. Drawing alongside Andre Gies in the GT radial car, then alongside the 207 track-light car of Gary Bate and Simon Smith, as they work their way through this twisty S-bend section down towards the left-hand hairpin at Hugenholtz for the first time in the race, and now begins the climb uphill. Chris Hart sandwiched between two cars at the moment, and there's contact up ahead between the two silver cars. Onto the grass with two wheels, and losing all his momentum is Rod Barrett for Team 7 Hawthorns, having a nudge there from the Track Life car. Three cars come whizzing past, and they climb up for the first time through Schlotermacher and then towards Scheivlach as they begin the downhill run then into the next turn. The top two breaking clear. It's PT Motorsport and Ian Payne in third place, Riley Phillips for DispatchBay.com in fourth, and the Viking car from the front row of the grid, Nick Nunn, has dropped to fifth place with the GCI racing car just behind. You ride once again with Chris Hart, who's right onto the tail now of the Track Live car. There's a door opening up. He gets up the inside instantaneously out wide and trying to go around the outside of the Axiometrics car. It's the 207 machine which got sideways, a big tank slap up, and I reckon it's gone off onto the grass. So another place gained for Chris Hart. He's onto the tail of the Axiometrics car through the left-hander at turn 10. Chris Double just ahead. The top two, as they were, make their way through the chicane at Hans Ernst Bocht. Then it's the third place car of DispatchBay.com. They had a fourth place now, PT Motorsport. And it's three abreast as Chris Hart guns up the inside of Alex McLeod for Raw Motorsports, and up the inside of Chris Double in the Axiometrics car. And he gets past the pair of them, and already goes onto the attack onto the JPR Alpha car. Not starting the race yet, I'm afraid. Ed Bridle in the Team 7 Fun Bikes car. Had some bad luck here last year, and it looks like they're going to go a lap down at least as the race leaders complete lap one. Team Kennedy in the lead from JPR Uvio, third for DispatchBay.com, and there are four together in the battle for fourth place. The Team Viking car, the yellow machine, nudging back ahead of PT Motorsport. That has a lock-up, and then around the outside goes the GCI car, the black and white and red car of Ian Wood and Craig Butterworth with the green Calianti car just behind as well. Up to 12th place with the driver you ride on board with now, German driver Andre Gies, as he tries his best to go around the outside of the JPR Alpha racing car of Morgan Tilbrook and John Curry, and we've got a spin for Rod Barrett. That's at turn one at the start of lap two, so he's gone off on the inside of Tarzan, the right-hander, and it's been a really unfortunate lap for Rod here. Let's have a look at a replay on board with Rod. Here we go, on the brakes, and he gets a thud from behind, and the red PLR car off the road as well. So they're both going to drop to the back of the field, hopefully not too much damage. There then the top three, still fairly close together, although Kennedy not under too much pressure as he goes over the brow then and down towards Masters Corner. On board with Chris Hart, who went from 17th to 10th on the first lap of the race. He's onto the tail of the If Motorsport car of Paul Stewart, newcomer to the championship this weekend, and Ali McKeever. He goes up the inside and gains another place on the way into the right-hander. And there's going to be a change for second place. Riley Phillips, look, he's getting alongside Varkini as they exit the turn. Will he get the line through towards the chicane? That was a back on board with Ed Bridle, so that car has gone back out, a lap down just at the back of the queue. And yes, indeed, Riley Phillips did get through, so he's up to second place now in the 221 DispatchBay.com car. Championship leaders in third place, and there's a bit of a gap back then to fourth. Continuing to charge his way up into the top 10 now is Chris Hart. His next target is the 8th place car of teammates FNS, Steve Walton and Greg Evans, and that car gets held up on the way into the right-hander. Charging around the outside of him then through Kumo Bend is Chris Hart, and he goes from 17th up to 9th place now and begins immediately to get into the toe of the PT Motorsport car. Gets a great run through the right-hander, back onto the start-finish straight, pulls out of the slipstream and draws alongside. He has to almost go off the road. Careful to get back to the left because the pit wall is there. As we see an attack for the lead of the race now. Riley Phillips for DispatchBay.com has quickly latched himself onto the back of the Kennedy car. We're back on board with Andre Gies now, who is following Chris Hart up through the order. His next target is going to be the IF Motorsport car, the 107 machine. But that's got the inside line at the moment. They're going to go left, right, then left into the hairpin, and he has to back off out of it this time. Just ahead of Chris Double in the Axiometrics car, the bright green machine. Just outside the top 10, Andre Gies with the Apollo Motorsport car of Guy Wenham coming up the order well as well. Just behind him into the pits with damage after that hit from behind, I'm afraid, though, is Rod Barrett. Back on track, the leaders come out of Shivelac, drop downhill, turn right, it's nose to tail here, and taking the tighter inside line is Riley Phillips, a little bit out wide for the Kennedy Motorsport car. Right-hander coming up, and the DispatchBay.com car should go through. It does. We've got a new race leader. We've got gale force winds blowing in off the North Sea for this first of 2 3-hour races this weekend. It's round 4 of the Fun Cup Championship, and DispatchBay.com lead the pole sitters Team Kennedy, Team Viking are third. The championship leaders JPR Uvio are in 4th place, and there from 17th up to 6th place the Track Talk 2 Rent Domino's car, number 1, driven by Chris Hart. On board with Ed Bridle, a lap down and contact with the IF Motorsport car, and into the gravel trap he goes on the way through Shivelac. And it's a big wide gravel trap, and he manages to get the car back on. They're already a lap down after problems with the car before the start of the race, and now damage to the front split up. Let's have a look at the replay. Trying to get back up through the order, tried to have a look around the outside, and Ed Bridle had nowhere to go but into the back of it, and then the gravel trap. So not a good day for Team 7 Fun Bikes. This is the battle for 3rd place, and up to 4th place there is the 111 car of Craig Butterworth, and GCI Racing now ahead of Varkini for Uvio. And then right behind the pair of them, Chris Hart in the number 1 car, continuing his march up through the field here as they head towards the end of another lap through this big sweeping right-hander at Kumo, a little link straight, and then into the next right-hander at Ari Lyondike corner, and starting to pick up the toe now. It's a long start-finish straight here, and you can see the slipstream effect already beginning to work. He draws alongside the Uvio car, gives his pal the thumbs up and drafts past. There's the race leader then, Riley Phillips, who had a very good start to the race. Quickly got up into the lead, but he hasn't yet shaken off the Team Kennedy car, which is also going well. On board with Andre Gies for JPR GT Radial. Squeezes up the inside, snatches at the steering wheel, but manages to find a way past the Axiometrics car. There's his teammate Ellis Hadley, who enjoyed that well. That was a good move. And here is the turquoise number 214 car, locking up under braking, but a good move that from Alex McLeod to gain a place on 249. That's his teammate Paul Rivette, the 4-time Renault UK Clio Cup champion. And we got a spin, I'm afraid, at turn 1, Tarzan. That's the 99 JPR Alpha car. But it looks like it's going to be able to get back on track. We rejoin Chris Hart, and this is him now squeezing up the inside of the 111 car of GCI Racing, wheel to wheel, wing mirror to wing mirror, and he goes through at the right-hander at Shivelac. Gets a good run down towards turn 9. Here's a replay of that move to get himself up to 4th place now, and he really is charging through the field. I noticed in the background the green 171 Agua Caliente car has now overtaken Uvio. So the top 2 make their way downhill into the braking zone for the Hans Ernst chicane, and then Viking 3rd, 2 Rent Domino's 4th, the 111 car of GCI Racing in 5th place, looking for their first podium since coming back to the Fun Cup. And that's a nice move from Guy Wenham on Andre Gies with the onboard camera. He made the setup through the first part of the chicane, the right-hander, and then he got the car in position to go through at the left-hander. Good move that. 170 Truman's car. Truman's winners last time out at Croft with PT Motorsport on their tail. They're getting ready and trying to stand up in the pit lane with all this wind. It's absolutely ferocious, as you can see there. Trying to hold the pit board up was hard work there for Jonathan Hode as we go side by side. And the move for third place now. 17th to third for Chris Hart. Tremendous driving so far. Now we're going to go 3 abreast. We've got Guy Wenham on the inside of the 212 FNS car. The Apollo Motorsport car goes through, and Andre Gysi's going to follow him through. That's a very opportunistic bit of driving. He's alongside, but there's a section of left and right hand corners here now, and he's going to be on the wrong line for one of them. He gets squeezed back out by the FNS car, and that was a good move. Right into our first round of pit stops. And Colin Kingsnorth gets out. Richard Webb is driving with him today. Colin's not here tomorrow, so it's Richard and Jonathan Hode driving tomorrow. Others getting ready, and that's a good pit stop. No refueling on that one. They're pitting every half an hour. Oh, and the Evo car comes in. I thought it was starting to go backwards. And what's the problem?
We usually but today we're
Couldn't have put it better myself. I think they're down on power. Alex McLeod gets out on the Royal Motorsports car then, and the most winning driver in the history of the Renault UK Clio Cup, Paul Rivette, takes over. When we came to Zandvoort 12 months ago with the Fun Cup, it was nearly 35 degrees. Couldn't be more different today, but at least I suppose the rain has held off. Right, DispatchBay.com stay out in the lead, but Kennedy, 2 Red Dominoes, Apollo and Viking all come in at the same time. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in for their first mandatory pit stop. No refueling for Viking, so Nick Nunn gets out, Mark Holm gets in, and it's going to be Henry Dawes to replace Chris Hart. Henry's not here tomorrow though, so Neil Burrows will drive. Viking with a great stop are going to get out in front of everybody except for Team Kennedy. They just got out in front of them, and then it will be Henry Dawes. None of them refueling on this stop, so they'll all have to refuel on the next stop. So they're in the leading pit stop at Team Kennedy, but only just ahead of Viking. But Apollo are still in, and it looks like the bonnet is coming up, so I'm afraid they've discovered a problem with that car. And now we get a replay. 2 of the top 10 runners. Oh, GCI and Axiometrics coming together there. The gap closed, and Craig Butterworth sent into a spin at turn 9. We're into the second stint now here at Zandvoort, and there is Riley Phillips, all smiles after taking the DispatchBay.com car from 6th to 1st in the first stint. But his teammate Andy Bicknell is now under pressure from the JPR GT radial car driven by Martin Gibson. Those two nose to tail for first position here. GT Radial making up several positions through the pit stops as we go on board with John King in the Team 7 Fun Bikes car, overtaking the sister 249 cars. They tried to come back through the field after having to pit at the end of the formation lap.
We had like a gear shift issue, so I think it's the auto blip we have. So every time I was on the brakes going down a gear, the throttle was sticking wide open, so obviously it makes it really difficult to slow the car down. Went back out again a lap down, made some places, and then we had quite a big sort of instant up the top of the hill at turn 7. So that has cost us, I think, 3 laps on top of that. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep pushing. And obviously we've got tomorrow as well, so looking forward to that.
Back on track, and this is the battle for the lead of the race. Martin Gibson has got the inside line, heading towards the right-hander at turn 1. Tarzan to the left of him, the DispatchBay.com car, and through he goes. Andy Bicknell gives him enough room, and will now try and tuck him behind him. And look at this battle for third place. 4 cars whipping through. On board now with Henry Dawes as he tries to find a gap. It's the Team Kennedy car, the Team Viking car just ahead. Rob Croydon at the head of the pack. Mark Holmes slipping wide, and Henry Dawes comes through to 4th place. Just behind them, the Axiometrics car, and just behind a lot of them in the top 6 as well is the FNS car of Greg Evans and Steve Walton. Apollo have been in for several minutes, I'm afraid, but they look like they're about to get the car out with Ryan Burke. And there is Paul Rivette having a good battle then with the If Motorsport car of Paul Stewart there, newcomer to Fun Cup this weekend. Apollo go back out, but lots of laps down now, I'm afraid, as we can catch up with early race leader Riley Phillips to give us some insight into what it's like to drive in these conditions.
It is massively windy, especially around the back parts of the circuit. You know, your cars get blown around everywhere, and then massive tailwind down the straight as well. You know, you're on the limiter pretty much in the last gear, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just getting pushed along, really.
We're into the second hour of this 3-hour race. We've had the second round of mandatory pit stops, so into the third stint and back into the lead of the race. DispatchBay.com, Harry Mailer now on board, and he has begun to pull quite some distance clear of what is a tight battle for second place between 2 Rent Dominoes and JPR GT Radial, and they're going to switch positions at the chicane. The GT Radial car slices down the inside, and the 2 Rent Dominoes car of Henry Dawes has to give second best, down to 3rd position then, but still ahead of their key championship rivals. Now we saw the Apollo Motorsport car losing a lot of time in the pits at the end of their first stint. Zoe Wenham is now on board. Ryan Burke can tell us what happened.
are the same issues we had last year. The ball joint on the throttle cable snapped. It must have happened as soon as the guy stopped, because he said no, there was nothing wrong. So he surely rolled in and it came to a halt, a bit like a sea bass really. So we a bit of an issue. It's gutting, really gutting, but the boys jump on it straight away and get us back out as soon as they can.
A real shame for Apollo Motorsport, who are definitely in the hunt for a podium again here at Zandvoort, but for the fourth time this year, looks like they're going to have a bad race. Uvio had a bad race as well. They've had an engine change and gone back out using this as a test session now, and we got drama at turn 1 at Tarzan. That was the Truman's car, I think, off in the background. The Track Life car has gone off as well. Damage to its back left corner. Yes, it was Truman's championship contenders, but they've quickly got back on the road. In the pits then for the latest change around our GT Radial, who have led this race at times, and it's Ellis Hadley who now takes his turn behind the wheel, but he's going to rejoin behind the Viking car, behind the Axiometrics car, behind the Two Red Dominoes car, and behind DispatchBay.com as well, who'd already made their pit stop. So losing ground to those four, but not that far behind them. It's side by side now between Henry Dawes and the Axiometrics car here of Chris Dovell, Chris Weatherall and Christian Rose. Early race leaders Team Kennedy making their pit stop, having to push the car out though. Charlie Kennedy helping. Rob Croydon is now behind the wheel for his second stint, so they're going to drop down towards the tail end of the top 6. And in the top 10, Agua Caliente, who've shown much improved performances in 2019.
Yeah, the car's going really well. We keep changing setup for each race. Over the winter, we realised that the first 2 seasons we were spending too much money and not focused on strategy and car setup. So over the winter, we did lots of testing, lots of little tweaks, and got the car, so we know that's competitive. Now we just need to be competitive in it.
We're into the final stint here at Zandvoort, and as usual, the front runners are all still tied together after several hours of racing. You're on board with 4th placed Henry Dawes for Two Red Dominoes, and there's the green Axiometrics car of Chris Weatherall trying his luck around the outside here. He might do it. He's got his nose in front. He whips around the outside. He avoids the gravel trap. He's still going the long route around, and he noses ahead of Mark Home in the Team Viking car. That was a fantastic move, determined stuff. Here's a replay as he tries to get the team's first victory in the Fun Cup. Brilliant stuff, given room and clean driving by Team Viking. And this is a replay of how DispatchBay.com got to 3rd place earlier on in the lap. Harry Mailer moving ahead of Henry Dawes. Oh dear, and PLR Racing have had a nightmare day, all sorts of trouble with the car for Neil Plymouth, and on his return to the Fun Cup, Jeff Fawcett. Then the top 3, Axiometrics, Viking and DispatchBay.com. This is the 104 car, Rob Croydon for Team Kennedy, and he's in 8th place. He's a lap clear of the 107 if Motorsport car, but more worried about the 249 Team 7 car of Rory Allen and Sam Brown, which is hunting it down for a top 10 finish. As look at this, side by side up ahead on the way into turn 10, and that is the DispatchBay.com car through to 2nd. So Harry Mailer, whose team lost out in the last round of pit stops, is getting them back in with a chance here. So they're back to 2nd place as he cements that position on the way into the chicane. That brings the Two Red Dominoes car back towards the tail end of the group. On board with Ellis Hadley, who's not that far back in 5th place for JPR GT Radial. They've had some issues with the car, which have cost them a potential podium, but they're not that far away if something happens up ahead. And look at this, GCI Racing wheel to wheel with FNS. That is for 6th place, and despite the earlier spin, Craig Butterworth and Ian Wood going well here in the 111 car. But look at this, going into the wind, giving everybody a huge tow now, with just a few minutes left on the clock. He's looking in the mirrors, he's got that pink DispatchBay.com car breathing down his neck, and Harry Mailer with a last-ditch move, thunders up the inside, locks up, runs deep into the corner, runs wide, and loses the race lead immediately again, and almost loses his 2nd place to Viking. Look at this. This was a proper effort. He couldn't have left the braking any later. He almost made the corner. He just clipped the inside curb, ran wide. Chris Weatherall saw what was coming, and he just waves him goodbye on the way out of the corner. Best part of the day now as the blue skies emerge and the wind starts to die down a bit. The 61 PT Motorsport car is in 13th place. That's Ian Payne, Tim Abbott and Paul Vokes, almost a lap ahead of them. Running in 9th place, the green Agua Caliente car of Derek Basham, Matt Hogg and Rob Perry. And then in 10th place, that's Truman's, who had their spin at that first corner at Tarzan earlier on in the race. And a great run for the championship hopefuls. For the final time, though, into the chicane come the top 4. Axiometrics, Chris Weatherall backing up Harry Mailer, who is running out of time now. 3rd place for Viking, 4th place for Two Red Dominoes, 5th on the road, but many laps down the Apollo car, but showing how quick that car is. Guy Wenham hanging on to them. There's Christian Rose there with the green and black race suit, and to the left of the picture, Chris Dovell, the other racing driver, and they can see their man come out the final turn. Chris Wetherall can see the checkered flag, but Harry Mailer is coming alongside. Now it's a dead heat as they cross the line, but just about by a millisecond, it is Axiometrics who get their first win as a team in the Fun Cup Championship. And it's not done yet. It's nose to tail in this battle between FNS and GCI Racing, and FNS have got back ahead and they nicked 6th place. But it is pure joy for Chris Dovell, Christian Rose, and of course, the man that took it over the line, Chris Wetherall. JPR Axiometrics win from DispatchBay.com and Team Viking. Christian, well done, fantastic. What a way to celebrate your 40th birthday.
Can I swear? 31st, and yeah, what a day. Absolutely brilliant. Well done to these guys. It was just, we were on the pace most of the race, to be honest with you, and it was just about consistent lap times, and at the end, really good work in the pits and a fantastic last stint by Chris Wetherall there.
I could see Harry coming, and I thought, hello. But I just parked on the apex. I thought, there's no way. If I let him get past, and I was just I wasn't trying to be the quickest guy. I was just trying to make sure that he could not get past me. Really, really good fun. And at no point, we didn't touch. It was just brilliant. Fun Cup at its best.
Our pit crew today and the mechanics were right on it. We were jumping 2 or 3 places in the pit stops. So we nailed everything. It wasn't just the 3 of us. It was the whole team.
Day 2 and the weather has completely changed here. It's absolutely beautiful. But one thing that probably is not going to change is how close the racing is. Yesterday was an absolute cracker of a race. Another different race winner, and the championship once again is wide open. Before we get into race 2, let's catch up with some of the teams and drivers from the first race. Harry, that was a brilliant end to the race yesterday. Just talk us through it from your point of view. I mean, you threw the kitchen sink at that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think we're a bit unlucky with the pit stop, and we dropped back to about 4th or 5th, I think, and the guys just got on the radio to me and said, just put the hammer down, see what you can do. So I think we closed the gap, got up to 2nd, and then just kind of got stuck there in just a long train for about 20 minutes, I think. And I threw out the inside into the first corner, didn't pull it off, and then just sat there for the rest of the race. Almost got on the line. I think it was half a tenth over the line. So eat a bit less next time and I might be able to make the win.
We just had a little bit too much understeer, which was affecting us coming onto the fast straights and losing us a bit of time really in a straight line. But I mean, listen, you just got to manage these things and get on with it. Yeah, like you said, another good solid performance, and points wise I think it's worked well for us. Need another one today, hopefully 3 better.
A little bit frustrated for us, even though 7th was a good result. We had a problem with refuelling at the second to last pit stop. So basically 15 litres of fuel should have gone in and didn't go in for whatever reason, wouldn't go in. So we then had to do an extra fuel stop at the end, which cost us however many seconds that is, and meant we were then just off that lead pack as we then emerged from those last set stops. So I could see them at the end of the straight when I was kind of coming onto the back straight. But it was a shame because I think there was a good sniff of our first podium yesterday. So it was a bit frustrating, but still a good result, and hoping to do a bit better today.
Another race, another random grid draw, this time with Team Viking on pole position. 2 Red Dominoes start alongside, with If Motorsport 3rd, Raw Motorsports 4th, and as winners of yesterday's race, JPR Axiometrics have to start at the back of the grid for this second 3-hour race of the weekend. Much better conditions then as they get the race underway. It's Mark Home to the left of the picture for Team Viking. They've had good grid draws so far this weekend, but look, it's Chris Hart charging around the outside to get the lead of the race, and Paul Rivette making his first start in the Fun Cup. Not his first drive, but his first start. I think he's about to go second. GCI going wheel to wheel with If Motorsports, and Craig Butterworth in the black and white car moves ahead of Paul Stewart, and on board with Riley Phillips, who came from 6th to 1st yesterday, as he charges through as well. So he slots in between them into 5th place. On board with Ed Worthington into the hairpin. He's coming from 18th on the grid. Up ahead, the white 61 car of Ian Payne, PT Motorsport. That moves ahead of the Gary Bate 207 Track Life car. And we go wheel to wheel with him now. Ed Worthington's got the inside line as they go down the hill, through the left-hander, and begin the rise up towards Rob Slotemacher corner. Fantastic view this as they whip past and charge through then to the top of the course, and then it begins the descent down through the right-hander at Scheibach and down towards Master Corner. The top four then together. It's Paul Rivett in second place. Here's a replay of the start. Team Viking and Mark Home got off the line well. The F Motorsport car of Paul Stewart, the red, white and green car, had a pretty good start but couldn't get anywhere, so whipping around the outside were the other two. And this was a great start for Chris Double in the green Axiometrics car. They gained 3 places, look, into turn 1, and that was him moving ahead of Ed Worthington through Tarzan. So it is Chris Hart leading for 2 Rent Dominoes, and there is a change for 3rd place. That's Craig Butterworth in the 111 car moving ahead of the pole-sitting Team Viking car. And look at this, 3 together. Oh, up ahead the 249 Team 7 cars had a spin as you go on board with Ed Worthington. He gets 1 place, not the other. It's the JPR Alpha car which comes out ahead, but the 249 car of Alan Brown, I'm afraid, having a spin and has to wait for the rest of the field to come through. There's the 221 DispatchBay.com car. Riley Phillips going well once again, but with Jonathan Hode and Team Truman's right behind him. Back on board with Ed Worthington. This is a brave move around the outside of the chicane, and it is perfectly executed. Fantastic driving that to move ahead of the number 99 JPR Alpha Racing car. But the safety car is coming out, the slippery surface flags are out, and we're about to get racing suspended. Good crowd gathered here for the second Fun Cup race of the weekend, but they are having a few minutes delay here because there's oil that's been laid down around much of the circuit, and so the marshal's working hard to sweep and cover that over. We did have 1 lap of racing, then there was another safety car to recover the 249 Alan Brown car. So 3rd time lucky, we get back underway. It's still the 2 Rent Dominoes car that leads. The DispatchBay.com car and the Truman's car both got ahead of Paul Rivett in the 214 Royal Motorsports car on that 1 lap that we had in between safety cars. So it's all together with JPR GT Radial just behind in 5th place. On board now with Chris Double. Trying to go around the outside now of Jeff Fawcett in the PLR Racing car. He saw his teammate Chris Weatherall go around the outside of this corner to get the lead of the race yesterday. Ultimately that gave him the victory, and he's done it himself, but around has gone the PLR car. Jeff Fawcett having a spin, possibly because he was on the tight inside line there, but he recovers without being collected. We get a replay at that moment on board with Ed Worthington just behind, and he went into the back of the 195 Team 7 Fun Bikes car as the spin happened ahead. Luckily neither of them collected Jeff. Repair work carried out. The 249 Team 7 car goes back out. It's not going to be their day today, but they did have a very good 11th place finish yesterday. And here we go. The leaders all come together then back into view with 2 Rent Dominoes ahead of Team Truman's. 3rd place for Dispatch Bay. 4th place for Paul Rivett for All Motorsports. And this is a replay showing how Jonathan Hode of Team Truman's managed to squeeze through ahead of Riley Phillips. But it is still mighty close here as they come back into view, into the chicane. Chris Hart, who had to battle his way through from 17th on the grid yesterday, couldn't quite finish on the podium, but they were leaders for some time. They were in the top 3 for most of the race. Top 5 glued together. At the back of that queue is the JPR GT Radio car. They are determined to get a podium here after just missing out yesterday. The PT Motorsport car of Ian Payne, who made a good start to the race, comes through as well. He's inside the top 10. And here we go. This is where all the slipstreaming is now about to start. As over the line they come. So hugging the inside line already is Chris Hart, the race leader, drawing alongside in the Truman's car, and right behind trying to push his way through is Riley Phillips. It's almost going to be 3 together, but it will be the Team Truman's car that gets through. Braving it around the outside is Riley Phillips, but he might be a bit too wide. The 2 Rent Dominoes car comes through. Up to 4th place meantime has come the JPR GT Radio car. It's still absolutely wheel arch to wheel arch here as Chris Hart tries to squeeze through, but Hode's having none of this. The Croft race winners lead the way into the hairpin, and Riley Phillips now gets back at the inside, and down he goes into the hairpin and through to 2nd place. There are 5 mandatory pit stops in this 3-hour race, so a pit stop every half an hour. There is Andy Bicknell getting ready to take over from Riley Phillips for DispatchBay.com. The Track Life 207 car is in. Gary Bate and Simon Smith switching over. At Apollo, get ready for their stop. Guy Wenham comes in. Hopefully they get further than the first stop this time. This is where they had their problems yesterday. Ryan Burke's going to get in. At the same time, in comes the 2 Rent Dominoes car, which has slipped back. So that was ahead of Apollo Motorsport. Good stint again from Guy Wenham to get them into the mix. Out gets Chris Hart. In gets his new teammate for the day, Neil Burrows, who drove with him at Croft because Henry Dawes has had to go home for day 2. And the Apollo car with a good stop gets out ahead. It's a change of bonnet though, look, which is delaying the 2 Rent Dominoes team. And that's related to the front splitter, so that must have been damaged. So it's either made contact with another car or run off the road somewhere. Neil loses quite a few seconds though, and no doubt, as it was so close out on track, he's going to lose quite a few positions. This replay might reveal all. This was at the end of Chris Hart's stint. Oh, and he just locked up and bounced over the curbs, through the gravel trap, back over the curbs. Lost positions to Andre Gies in the GT Radio car, Paul Rivette, and also to Guy Wenham, which is why he was behind Guy when they came into the pits. So that was what caused the damage. Alex McLeod has now taken over the 214 car from Paul Rivette, the reigning and 4-time Renault UK Clio Cup champion. And we can hear from him now his thoughts about competing here in Fun Cup.
It's very, very competitive at the front. You know, some really, really good pedallers out there. So, yeah, you know, it's a competitive championship. It really is, and it's great for the guys that want to learn as well, because you can learn so much in this. You know, you've got the endurance side of it, you've got the racecraft, because they race like a sprint race for 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours or however long the race is. So, so it's a really good place to come and learn your craft for the up and coming drivers, or just to come and hone your skills if you've if you've been around for a while. So. Yeah, I'm just really, really enjoying it, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and be part of it.
High praise from Paul Rivette, who's also competing in the British Track Racing Championships this year. So Richard Webb goes out and will lead the race. Everybody else has made their pit stop. GT Radial second, Apollo third. FNS has just squeezed down the inside of Viking to pick up fourth place. Dispatchbay.com have slipped back in the pink and black machine, but that's because they were the only one of that lead group to refuel during the first stop, so they'll make the time back up in their shorter second stop while everybody else puts fuel in. Meanwhile, we can hear from debutant Paul Stewart, who had a very good first stint running in the top 10 for IF Motorsport.
I wanted to try something different. I've always done karting for my full career, and I've just not had the money to go to like Formula 4 and anything like that. So Fun Cup's like a good, reasonable price car, and it's competitive, and it gives me race experience because they always bunch into the air, so it's really close. And this track's really amazing. The inclines and like the cambers in the corners, so, like, it makes it for like good racing, and everybody's dead close as well. I have the same power in car, so I'm enjoying myself so far.
And when the weather's like this, it's hard to beat the North Sea coastal circuit of Zandvoort here in the Netherlands. It's round 5 of the Fun Cup Championship 2019, and leading the way it is the JPR GT Radial team, but the lead pack are all bunched together as they make their way onto the back straight. Team Truman's looking itchy as well in second place as they went through shot, on board with Christian Rose, who's very much in the battle here for JPR Axiometrics, winners yesterday. Hold on to your hats then, they all want to be in the lead. It's 3 abreast here, and getting the inside curve and getting sideways and onto the grass is the Fun Bikes car of Chris Bridle. It just snapped the inside curve there as he tried to squeeze at the inside. There were 3 together, so somehow it's the Truman's car that still leads. That's the Viking car snatching a position back from the Apollo Motorsport car for 4th and 5th. You're on board with the 6th place car of Christian Rose, JPR Axiometrics. There trying to catch them up is Neil Burrows for 2 red dominoes after they were delayed in the first pit stop with a bonnet change after damage to the front splitter when Chris Hart went off the road at the chicane. So having a fairly lonely time of it at the moment, Neil Burrows, the team coming into the weekend second in the points, last year's champions. A replay then of this move, 5 together for the lead of the race. Truman's nosed in front into the corner. Whacking the curve up the inside was the Fun Bikes car. It was 3 together. Over the curbs again and oversteering onto the inside of the track went Chris Bridle, and he dropped down the order. Into the second half of the race here at Zandvoort, and it hasn't been a good weekend, I'm afraid, for PLR Racing. There is Neil Plimmer back together with his old teammate Jeff Fawcett this weekend. Problems with the car all weekend long, and Jeff had a spin earlier on as well, so struggling for pace at the moment. And there is the Dispatchbay.com car then of Riley Phillips. He's got back into the lead of the race. They dropped down the order a bit after the first stint due to a longer pit stop with refueling, but then everybody else had to refuel later, and they've come back into the mix now with good drives from Andy Bittnell and Harry Mailer in their first stints as well. So Riley Phillips leads for Dispatchbay.com. Mark Home is second for Team Viking. Uvio having a better day with their new engine are into third place at the moment, but with right behind them the Apollo car, the Truman's car. Into the garage has been the 214 Royal Motorsports car of Paul Rivette, who was in the lead battle at the start of the race, and his teammate Alex McLeod. Alex has been getting better and better in terms of pace with expert tuition from Paul Rivette, but the car now a number of laps down. Right, back on board with Chris Hart for 2 red dominoes. He's found somebody to play with, and it is the Agbert Calianti car here, the 171 machine. Derek Basham behind the wheel of the Green Machine at the moment. If it stays like this, they're fighting over 11th place. It would be the worst result so far this season for 2 Rent Dominoes, but every point counts in this championship, and they're on the lead lap. If there were to be a safety car, they'd still be very much in the hunt at the end of the race. For now, though, cannot find a way past Agua Caliente. JPR GT Radial are in the hunt for a podium today as well, and we can hear now from Andre Gies down in the pit lane.
We were quite unlucky yesterday. We led the race twice for over 10 seconds. And then we had a problem in the pit stop, then we had a problem in the pit stop again. And then a safety car took all of our advantage over the other cars. And then in the end, only P5 was the result. This was a little bit disappointing because we hoped for the win because we were the fastest yesterday, I think, or one of the fastest. And we're doing today good again. I think we still have a chance on the victory, and of course we are fighting for it as hell.
Final round of pit stops, the leaders are in, and Harry Mailer is taking over the DispatchBay.com car from Riley Phillips, but the back of the car is coming up. There's a problem, there's an issue, and the sledgehammer is out, and that is never a good sign. So Harry has to sit and wait while they try and fix the problem. Meanwhile, FNS and GCI are together again, like they were at the end of yesterday's race. They could be in the top 6, these two. It's Greg Evans versus Craig Butterworth, and then it's Chris Bridle versus Farkini in the battle between Team 7 Fun Bikes and Uvio, who could also, after a bad day yesterday, both finish in the top 6 here. But effectively, this is going to be for the lead of the race now, with DispatchBay.com having their issues. They've yet to make their pit stops, but it's Axiometrics, Viking and Apollo all together now. So that's Christian Rose ahead of Mark Holm, ahead of Zoe Wenham, and the JPR GT Radial car not very far back, effectively in 4th place. There then Chris Wetherall, who's going to take over, as he did yesterday, the final leg for Axiometrics. Viking are ready as well. Nick Nunn is going to step in, and it looks like they might be coming in at the same time. The battle continues, but with 2 different drivers now between Agua Caliente and 2 Rent Dominoes. On board with Neil Burrows, who is making a very determined move there. He's got the door halfway open, but he comes through, and into the pits come Axiometrics and Viking at the same time. So a race between the pit crews. There is no fuel going in. Thrown out of the car and onto the floor is Mark Holm. They don't care, they just want to get in and out as quickly as possible. You can sort his grazed knees out later on. And now Chris Wetherall is strapped in for Axiometrics. Can they get him out before the Viking car? It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. They're side by side down the pit lane, but the Viking car critically gets ahead. So Wetherall is going to be behind Nunn as they go into the final few laps of the race. Meanwhile, Chris Bridle is edging well clear now of Farkini in the JPR Uvio car. That car very much down on power yesterday. They had issues with that car here at Zandvoort last year as well. So we're starting to wonder if it's something to do with the atmosphere or the salty sea air or something like that. But it hasn't been a great track for them in the last couple of years. If Motorsport go back out, they had a good midfield finish yesterday. And on board now in this battle for the lead of the race between Viking and JPR Axiometrics. Apollo are still in the hunt as well here. Clipping the inside curb then as they go through Scheivlak is the race leader Nick Nunn, and working away at the steering wheel is Chris Wetherall. He's going to have a go, and he's going through down the inside this time. Outside yesterday, inside this time. It's turn 9 today, it was turn 1 yesterday, but it's the same result. Axiometrics get the lead of the race. Trying to catch them up then, Ellis Hadley for JPR GT Radial at the end of the race. Back out, having lost 5 minutes or so is Harry Mailer, so they are well out of the top 10 now, well down the order. The 104 car, which went well yesterday, of Team Kennedy, has had a delayed stop as well. That had to be recovered to the pits. So shame for them after good pace in yesterday's race. So on board then with Chris Wetherall, the race leader, but that does not sound good. The gears, he can't get the gears in. And there through comes the Viking car, Nick Nunn into the lead of the race. The Apollo car comes through as well into second place. And Hartake with just a few laps to go. Chris Wetherall is grinding to a halt. It looked like the double victory was on. They'd have been the first team this year to get 2 race wins. The GT Radial car comes through as well.
Guys, I've lost all drive, that's it, game over.
And Chris Wetherall radios in, it's all over. Well, motorsport can be so cruel. Viking have got the lead of the race. They've had their own bad luck over the years, of course. That is heartache for Axiometrics, so close to the finish line. However, job not yet done, because Apollo onto the tail of Viking now for the lead of the race. And look at these two, GCI and FNS, and Greg Evans and Craig Butterworth make contact. Wing mirror is dislodged. He's onto the grass. He tries to snap back up the inside, unperturbed, but he cannot quite do it. Now that Axiometrics have gone, these two are battling over 4th place. Here's a replay then, squeezing the gap down. There's contact onto the grass, wing mirror off, and Greg Evans with a wild ride, and then he tries to snap back up the inside of the 111 car straight away. Behind them, the Truman's car lap back in 11th place, not having their best weekend here. Some troubles today, but through the chicane for the final time, Nick Nunn, who has fended off Guy Wenham for the last half a dozen laps. He's just got 2 more corners to go. And the FNS car has got a headlock over the back of the circuit. So FNS on for 4th place here. Down to 5th place, GCI Racing. Team 7 in 6th place. But here we go. For the first time in their Fun Cup careers, Nick Nunn and Mark Holm are going to be race winners for Team Viking. They're the 5th different race winners in 5 races. And that is the 3rd race on the trot now that a team has taken their maiden race victory. This championship is wide open.
Couldn't wish for a better weekend, really. P3 in the first race, and to win the last race, yeah, just awesome. Yeah, really hard battles, but yeah, great.
If you look at the times today, anybody in the top 15 could have come across that line. I mean, it was so close. And it's not really till the last 20 minutes of the race does it come into that frenetic, trying to go for the podium position. But yeah, fantastic.
We've got 3 stats for you after this weekend. First up, we've had 2 completely new race winners, which has been terrific to see. Secondly, we've had 5 races now and 5 different winners this season. And the third and most important stat, Fun Cup continues to give 100% entertainment. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.